coaching girls is different. It is different. I'm not saying that they're lesser than. I'm not saying that they're not as capable as boys, but it's different. And biologically, as we grow up, we are completely different.
G'day legends, it's Matt Redman here. We're at the Inside the Game podcast again. We've got today a lovely guest in the wonderful Steph Lewer. Steph is a female baseball player and coach. She's grown up playing baseball in the Sydney area her entire life. So I thought it'd be good to get Steph on and hear a little bit about Steph's perspective of what it's like, not only as coming up as a baseballer and a coach, but obviously she's got the perspective of a female coming up and what it's like for a young girl and an adult woman playing and coaching in baseball. And just like what we do with all our other shows and whatnot, we want to learn a little bit. I'm sure we can take a little bit from Steph and look at her experiences, take the positives out, see how we can make things better for particularly girls in our game, and then maybe some of the things that she found could be improved. We can work on some of those things and talk about how we can make those better as well. So welcome, Steph. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Steph is a little bit nervous, but she's fine. she's going to rip in with us, and we'll start, Steph, with talking about, just tell us a bit about your journey. Well, tell us all about it, not a bit about it. Tell us all about your journey, where you started, all the way through to here. Just take your time and wrap it off for us.
Well, I grew up in a very baseball-dominated family. My dad played, he coached, my brothers both played, so it was kind of inevitable that I would definitely be playing. We moved from Wagga to Camden when I was around 5-ish, so getting into T-ball, and I signed up at Campbelltown Caspers, where Matt was my very first T-ball coach, so very helpful getting me into the game. Yeah, I've always loved baseball. I loved being around baseball. I loved watching it and playing it. But for me as a young girl, it was more social and fun for me as I was younger. I stopped around 12 or 13 because I broke my arm. And I thought that was kind of the end for me. So I stopped for a little bit, but my dad definitely wanted me to keep playing. So he used every connection and any connection he could find to try and get me back in, but into a community of girls, which I didn't even know was possible. And that's where I fell in love with the game, and in a different way. So it was more competitive for me. It was a bigger world of baseball for me rather than just having fun with a couple friends on the weekend.
So you found when you were coming up and playing in the mixed competitions, was it starting to become a bit of a gap between you girls and the boys up at when you sit that 11, 12-year-old age group? Around
that age, yeah. Yeah, I was finding it more just social and just fun, and I had great coaches that was able to let me do that and allow me to have fun, but also have the other people that were taking it more seriously benefit from the game. But yeah, around that age, I kind of thought that was it for me. I was always told that the options when you got older for girls was just to either stop playing, become a scorer, or you would go into softball.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, it's excellent. It's great that we didn't lose you. As softball's a great game as well, but it's great that we have pathways now for the girls in baseball. And you feel like you started enjoying it a lot more once it was an all-girls team, sort of all-girls competition that you started to play in?
Definitely. I think sometimes girls, especially young girls, get overshadowed with boys. They're a little bit more dominant in the team, which is okay, but girls are just as competitive as the boys, but we show it differently, or we might look at the game differently and more methodically, but it's not outright as much as the boys. So I was finding, I was kind of falling towards the bottom, and I was rather getting more fun out of the game than what the boys were getting out of the game.
Mm-hmm. So there we go. We probably hit on one of our first sort of really interesting points that helped you enjoy the game, is the fact that there was a pathway for you. There was a girls only sort of competition that helped you enjoy it, which we're trying to breed now as well with the Rhino stuff that we do, and we'll talk a bit more about that later. But yeah, you really do need your own place, don't you? And it's good that you're stuck with the game and you found that, because we nearly lost you. So you went through and you started playing. What was the girls' competition that you started playing in?
So when I first came back into baseball, I started at a tournament, which was a friendship series where girls from all over Australia and all over New South Wales came together and we played just fun baseball. And it wasn't focused on winning. It wasn't focused on anything other than meeting girls in the community and meeting each other. And the teams weren't also totally to your area, so you're mixed from different states and things like that. And it was a great way to build community, and I was able to find girls that took the game as seriously as I did or inspired me to take it more seriously, and that was great. So then I went, I want to do more. I want to be able to stay in this area, and then I signed up at Balcombe Hills and I stayed in their women's program until now. So I just finished my 11th season with them.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
So 11 seasons you've been playing. That's in the Women's State League, that is.
Yes.
So that's the New South Wales Women's State League over here in Australia, which is excellent. So really, again, it's another notch in the belt for tournaments and what tournaments can do for the game. Yeah. I really do feel like tournament baseball is a huge part of our product and what we offer and how we can make things, more fun for kids and more enjoyable. And it also, like you said, you meet all these new players and these people that you probably wouldn't have had the opportunity to meet. And you're probably still friends with some of them now, or knock about with some now. So that's, they are. Tournaments really do have a special place in our game, which is probably different to most other sports. I think tournament baseball and softball really is a key to the enjoyment for young people playing the game. So that's awesome. And then, so you're a bit of a coach now, I do ask these questions like I don't know anything about Steph, but like she said, I coached her when she was 5 years old and now she coaches alongside me with some of our teams. So that's why I knew she'd be such an excellent guest to get on, and she'd have some very insightful stuff for us. So you're coaching. Tell us about how you got started coaching, what you've sort of been doing and what you hope to do with your coaching.
Well,
gear up at the store where real ball players shop. Recken Australia is leading the way in custom baseball and softball gloves. Pick your colours, web style, size, and even add your name. Made just how you want it. You can customise leg guards and elbow guards too. Trusted by players, coaches, and clubs across the country. Shop custom. Shop online. Start now at recken.com.au.
I think I was around 15 or 16. I definitely grew up in a family that was reminded that you always pay it forward with coaching. Your coaches were always volunteers, and it's upon you to pay it forward to what knowledge you got, to extend it to kids and keep that growing and keep that rolling. And so when I was around 15, 16, I just wanted to start coaching. So I remember I just emailed, I heard there was a Camden baseball club now, which was crazy because it never existed when I was in Camden. And then Matt responded and he went, I remember you. I remember you. And then I started coaching with Matt. And then just being able to view Matt and how he saw it was amazing. And I saw a different love for the game again. So not only as a player, but as a coach, and you're able to see these kids grow. By far my favourites, coaching kids. Coaching adults looks great, but coaching kids is like nothing else. Like you're able to see them grow and become little proper people and proper players, and it's great to see that.
Yeah, coaching, I love coaching. I like coaching more than playing these days. I haven't played in a couple of years now, but I coach almost every day of the week because I love it. And it is, and another good point you made there was about paying it forward, and it's important that we include that in our culture for our teams that we coach. Luckily it was driven from home through your family, but it is important that we talk about that and we try and practice that within our teams as well with our young kids, whether it be going and helping out a younger team, whether it be doing some umpiring for the time slot before you in a younger age group. If we develop that sort of volunteer mentality and that pay it forward mentality, we end up with great volunteers, and the things that I'm proudest of, I've coached some very good players. I've coached boys that are overseas playing baseball and all kinds of things, but probably the thing that makes me the proudest out of any coach and any kids is when they grow up to pay it forward, you know, and I see them out there coaching their own teams and they're helping out people, you know, because that really is the only way we move the game forward, is by people who have the experience come back, pay it back, they make the next generation a bit better, and then they come back, pay it back, they make the next generation a bit better. And that's so important in Australia, and in particular because it's a bit of a minority sport, and for all places around the world where you may not be such a big town or whatever, and you don't have a plethora of people who have played baseball. Like, for example, over here, if you were to try and get a soccer team coached or a rugby league team, you could almost grab anyone off the sideline and they know how to play soccer or they know how to play footy. But baseball is a very intricate game to teach. To be a good coach, you having some experience really helps you out. So trying to find someone who's got that experience and is willing to put back in is tricky, because we don't have that big a pool of people to choose from. So we need to make sure with those kids that we do have in our teams, we need to really cultivate that culture of paying it back, paying it forward, which is, then you end up with girls like Steph helping out. So you started back, some bloke named Matt got you back in the coaching at the Red Sox. It was good. Yeah, it was excellent to see you send that email, and I jumped on that straight away. And so you started coaching T-ball with the Camden Red Sox. What have you done since then? Have you done much more coaching after that? Wait, that was 15, 16. What was that? That could have only been 2 or 3 years ago, wasn't
like 10 years ago now. I continued a couple of years with Camden Red Sox, and with that I also stepped back because I was starting to do HSC and uni, and doing a couple other things for my own self. But then we started doing some tournament things with Rhinos, which I've absolutely loved. I've done some side just like helping with coaching for some Borco things, or doing like development days for girls. Mostly anything I do is mostly catered towards girls in the development or interests or getting them involved. However, it's not limited to that. Like Rhinos is, we do a lot with just any kind of juniors, and it's just as important as getting anyone involved in baseball. And then more recently, I started doing more with women. So actually taking my own women's team and working with another coach to get a second grade for the first time in maybe 12, 13 years for Borkham Hills to have a second grade team.
Awesome.
So that's a big step, creating a complete new grade for an association and trying to maintain that, and building from the bottom where, we were getting smashed every week, but these are brand new people together in a team for the first time, to totally becoming undefeated in the second half of the year, where people, if we had a few more games, we could have made finals. But it's just, it was amazing. Not only I was able to see women grow, but their love and their commitment and their loyalty to a club start growing. And for women in particular, we find the social and the community a really big part of our team sport, rather than just having fun or the competitive part. But community is such a huge thing.
No, very good. So you're probably touching on a good point there too, when we talk about women, not just girls playing, but women playing, and maybe girls in their teenage years. So the thing that is quite important to you, and probably the rest of your team, as you're saying, is to not just show up, play the game and train, but the other things you do together sort of outside it. Would be extracurricular
definitely.
activities and whatnot you girls do together?
Yeah, definitely. It's it's hard when we've got our first grade and second grade are on different days. So that makes it a bit difficult, because like the men play all the same day, all together. They are able to sit on the bench together and able to do things together, like just even watch or support each other on the day. But for us, being on separate days, it's putting more effort in to support each other. But we train together, we try and go to the pub afterwards together, and we try and get first graders to come to second grade games and second graders to come to first grader games. Getting the second graders to just understand that you're always welcome on the bench. Maybe you don't play in the game, but you're more than welcome because you're part of the club. There's never a part where they shouldn't ever feel not welcome in any part of our club especially.
Then it's huge. Culture is huge. Culture is huge. We've talked about culture in other videos. We talk about it in terms of most of the stuff we do is geared towards junior teams and T-ball teams and beginners and whatnot. But it just goes to show how important it is. Like, we talk about culture in terms of being a parent for a junior team and how important it is for the parents to get to know each other, meet each other. You know, it's a cohesive sideline makes for a good team. That carries through all the way through when you start talking about senior baseball and the older teams, and you've got 2 grades, for example. You know, making sure that you make those newer girls and that feel included. You know, as soon as they get there, you know, you start talking to them, you ask them who they are, you get to know them a little bit, put the teams together, do some stuff together, go and watch each other's games. Like, and that culture is huge. And if you guys keep doing that, you know, I'm sure you're going to have success for years to come, because people are going to want to be a part of it.
Yeah.
You know, it's that's the main thing. It doesn't matter how many championships you win. If people aren't happy when they're there, those championships are going to disappear over time, because people will disappear and your good people will disappear. So it's great to see that you guys are you know, developing a good culture over there at Hills.
Yeah, it's definitely something that is a bit different as well with women, is that we tend to grow up, we have families, we have babies. But you'll see it's very different.
Here's a whole nother challenge. Like, I am not qualified to talk about this. We got Steph.
That's a crazy part that's more intricate as well. But as they grow up, we also have people that can't play some seasons because they're pregnant, but they come back the following season, and we've got babies on the sideline. We've got people that have to go up to the top of the hill to breastfeed in between innings. We've got all different things, but it's such a big community. It's such a big family, and it's very different to men's baseball in that way, but it's amazing. And you're able to see these kids grow up as well. And it's just, it's amazing. Like, it truly is amazing to watch.
And that's the next generation on the sideline, right? The more we cultivate this, the whole women's experience, and the more we keep the girls playing right up until when they're having babies and after, you know, like, what do you think's going to happen to that little girl or boy that sits on the sideline watching mum play, you know, for 4 or 5 years while she grows up? And she can't wait to get a glove on her hand, I bet. You
Exactly.
know? Like, all the best players are the little brothers and sisters that sit around and watch, and the kids that sit around and watch their parents, because they've got that education, you know, and they don't even know they're getting it in their first 4 or 5 years. So, yeah, that's outstanding. All right, so let's talk about what are some of the real positive things that stood out to you. We want to try and learn from your journey and your experience. When you were coming up through T-ball, junior baseball, let's focus on the junior stuff really. Do you have any really fond memories, you know, things that stand out to you? They don't necessarily have to be, you know, for girl-specific stuff, but just in baseball in general. What are some really fond memories and some key stuff that made you enjoy the game and want to keep playing the game?
I think with junior baseball, I had some incredible coaches. I always felt included in a team. I never felt outcasted. I felt like I was doing whatever I needed to do to have fun in a team. And I was never really, pushed outside my comfort zone, which was good when you're a kid, because sometimes, you can get pushed out of the sport as well if it's a bit too much for you. But I just enjoyed having fun. And I think that's the biggest thing for junior baseball. I think while we're still young, keeping it fun, keeping it interesting and learning as we're going, rather than total competitiveness from a young age, and understanding that winning is the key thing to do, and that's the only thing that matters. But rather focusing on development and just enjoying the game, because there's so much more to baseball than just the players. And if you push out the players, they're not going to return in any capacity. So you're going to lose scorers, you're going to lose groundsmen, you're going to lose umpires. But if you encourage them and nurture them and keep them within the sport, you're going to get future volunteers in some way, or a player.
Yeah, I think the key thing that we need to remember when we talk about baseball, softball, t-ball, any of this stuff is it's a game. We're playing a game, and games are supposed to be fun, right? They're supposed to be fun. So it sounds like the old cliche when it always, and this is probably the answer to half the questions that sort of new coaches ask me. It's like, make the focus on fun. You know, if you keep them having fun, it doesn't matter if you're the best coach in the world and you're the best technical coach. You can teach a kid to pitch better than anyone. You can teach them to hit better than anyone. But if you have under 8s team and only half of them come back next year because they didn't enjoy it, you know, the fun in the game wasn't cultivated, then it doesn't matter how good a coach you are, was it? You can't teach them anything the next year because they're left. They're off playing soccer now. So focusing on fun is what I take out of that. That's sounds like you did have some good coaches.
Yeah.
Not just your first one, obviously, but sound like you went on and had some other good coaches too, which is fantastic. But yeah, definitely the focus on fun is what we need to put at the forefront when we're coaching kids. And so, what about without trying to make it too much of a sour note? Is there any things that, and this one can be more related to you as a girl, maybe coming up through it, and also as just a player coming up? But do you have any, maybe not so much negative experiences, but things that you think that we could improve on, that you experience coming up, that could make it a little bit more inclusive, for girls, and also just a better experience for kids in general?
I think the education on women's baseball probably needs to be improved, and not in saying that there's only elite pathways for women, but there are social aspects, there's different community aspects. Like when growing up, when you're told maybe baseball isn't for you, we know the pathways for boys. Boys can go professional, boys can do this, boys can do that. But for girls, it's kind of told at a young age, if you're not in an educated area, oh, maybe you'll be a volunteer. Maybe you can do this, or maybe you can go to softball. You're not told that if you want to continue, but not in a total competitive way, but a social way, there's places for you. There's places for you in mixed teams. There's places for you in women-only teams. But at the very top of that, there's elite pathways as well. So baseball is not only growing for us, but it's growing totally in Australia as well. So it just needs more coaches to be mindful and educated on what their girls can do and what areas of baseball that they can reach. And they don't always have to be pushed to the elite standards, but they can be pushed into continuing and loving the game as much as they want. And I think that is by creating the community around them, being more involved in community, being involved in their club's community of the girls, and they know each other, they know their district, they know their association, and they can talk to each other, and they're able to grow together through baseball.
Well, like you said, you started to really enjoy it more once you started to find a community of girls. So like I assume it's very similar when you walk into a club or a sport in general, and there's very few to no girls around. Like, it makes it a little bit not as appealing for another girl to hang around. But once you start seeing other girls there, and you say, oh, there's plenty of girls here, well, this is something for me. So I think creating those pathways that you talk about, and then educating people about them as well.
Yeah.
Right? So we've got to build them to start with, which I think we're doing a pretty good job. Not just us, I mean, but it's, in general, there's the Little League girls that's just started. In our state, we have the State Rookies Cup for the girls as well, which is like, for those out there playing at home, that's for it's a machine pitch, league for young girls, which is great. That sort of bridges that gap, because we do tend to lose a lot of girls at the when it becomes live pitch, right? Some of them, they love T-ball, right? I find I've coached many of them, love T-ball. When it gets to machine pitch, they sort of, they're a bit there and thereabouts. And once it starts to get to pitch ball, we start to see the boys sort of come into their own, and the girls start to drop off a little bit, which is where we need to make sure those pathways start, is where we're losing those girls. We've got to make sure we don't lose them. And so it's excellent now that we do have that out of T-ball. You've got that Zuka pathway now, and then into the Little League pathway, and then into the female sort of representative pathway, but we've got to let people know this exists.
Exactly, and I think it is showing little girls that there's older women out there that are still playing at all different ages. It's when you become a mother, it doesn't stop. You can keep playing. When you have a job, it doesn't stop. You can keep playing. There's nothing that can stop you from playing baseball. And all these barriers that little girls might think about, that young boys won't have to ever think about, just letting them know that it's possible. You can keep loving the sport you love, and you can keep playing the sport you love. And it doesn't mean that you have to give up any other part of your life, but you can go side and side with it, and it can continue. But we need to, just make sure that it's more, the education for women's baseball is more known. And we just let it be more visible.
And role models, like what you're talking about there is what I got out of that was role models. Like kids need role models. They need to be able to see people ahead of them. You know what I mean? These young girls need to see where they can go to next. Even I have role models. I'm 41 years old and I have role models and I have people that I look up to. So everybody needs that. Everybody has that. So comes back around to the community thing we were talking about before. You know, it's if you've got your little league age girls, you know, have them hang around your Zuka age girls so they know where they're going next and they can look up to these older girls. You know, have your Zuka age girls hang around your T-ball girls so the girls know that there's a pathway there for them. I want to be part of that team as I go along. And then have your women like you are now in your playing your state leagues and whatnot, you know, have them have involvement with your little league team, you know. So everybody, we're creating that community, we're creating that continuity so the girls know where they can go, you know. I think like you hit the nail on the head, I believe, with community, role models and education, I think are the key to growing this thing and keeping it growing. So that's why we get her on. She knows what she's talking about. All right, so a sort of flow-on effect from, you know, it's a male-dominated sport, okay? So we now in a position where most coaches are going to be male, right? I look around on the weekend, just like most players are boys, most of the coaches are boys as well, okay? But particularly in T-ball and in the younger age groups, we have plenty of girls, okay? Got lots of girls. So again, we ask the hard questions here, okay? This is, you know, not beat around the bush. What sort of advice would you give to someone who may be even new to coaching as well, and they've got some young girls in their team? How can they help make that experience better for the young girls, a great one for the young girls?
I think the biggest thing would be stay inquisitive, but also stay humble in your ideas and your learning and what you know. No coach out there is going to be completely perfect as a coach, as a set standard, but coaching girls is different. It is different. I'm not saying that they're lesser than, I'm not saying that they're not as capable as boys, but it's different. And biologically, as we grow up, we are completely different. We have different rules that cater towards us, such as bat rules. So we're able to any age, we're able to keep using metal bats, but there are standards on that. But coaches aren't even educated on that. They have one young girl in their team, but they believe that they're held to the exact same standard as a biologically grown boy, male 17-year-old. And we also need to be more, I guess, mindful that baseball is created and all these techniques and all these types of training techniques are created to cater towards boys. And we need to be more mindful that girls we are built differently. We come in all sizes, all shapes, but we're not going to be throwing or hitting the exact same way a standard boy is. So we need to be educated and truly educated on how to coach girls. Coaching girls is different. What we value is different. How we view the game is different. But I think it also means that you need to understand that girls, even at a young age, are completely capable of understanding the complexities of the game. They're able to understand strategy, but they might not be as loud, as understanding as a young boy would. So you need to be able to not overlook them, not keep them in the shadow, not applaud them for doing bare minimum, but to keep applauding them and pushing them to do as well as the boys and keeping them growing and keeping them developing rather than leaving them in right field where they do nothing all game, but putting more training and more effort into the starting pitcher and shortstop that's a young boy. So I think we need to just focus on inclusivity, education. We need to focus on understanding that, girls are different. They're taught different, they're built different. It's just, but we are as capable and we can excel as much as they can.
And we created a girls program this year for our local sort of our travel ball team. We run out of RBI Australia, and we've our first ever girls program. So one thing we did, we took a whole heap of our young baseball girls. We had about 25 in our first year, which we're very proud of. And we got 2 teams and we took them into the local softball T-ball competition because that runs on a Wednesday night. And that was my first time ever coaching a whole team full of girls. And you couldn't be more accurate in saying it's different. The girls are different to boys. They are different. Like, I tell you what, my teams full of boys that I coach don't do TikTok dances when the game's finished on the sideline. Like, it's, but it doesn't mean they're different. Doesn't mean they're worse. They're different. And what I really noticed about coaching the girls was, like you said, they're really good at understanding the rules and understanding the way the game plays. You know, like understanding, making the different plays and whatnot in the game. Whereas you could have when I'm used to coaching boys, you can have some of them that can run through a brick wall, hit the ball to the fence and throw the ball, 60 miles an hour. But you try and teach them some of the intricate rules like cut-off plays, double plays, all these things, covering bunts, all these kinds of things that are a little bit more tricky. I found that my young girls in this team really picked that up a lot quicker because they pay good attention to you when you're talking to them. There's less of them wrestling with each other when you're trying to teach them something. And they really do try hard. And when you explain that to them as well, I found that when I explained to the girls, because we played against all boys, this T-ball competition we played in was mixed. So we played against a mix of boys and girls, but again, mostly boys. And they were big and strong, and a lot of them were older than us as well. And they'd hit the ball harder than us, they throw harder than us. And when I explained to the girls that there were a lot of things that we did a lot better than some of these other teams, it's just the fact that they are bigger, stronger, faster, that they were sort of beating us a lot of the time. They sort of started to understand that. They understood that if we focus on the plays and we focus on learning these things and working together, the things like teamwork, talking each other up, communicating, knowing the play before the ball gets hit, all that kind of stuff, they started to click towards the end of the season and realize that we can beat these guys. We can match it with these guys, right? And and they really did start to focus and really start to hone in on those extra little skills and the plays and the communication, the fundamentals we were teaching them. And they were such a competitive team by the end of it. We still couldn't throw as hard as everybody else. We couldn't hit the ball as hard as everybody else. We couldn't run as fast as most of them either. But we became a really, really competitive team. A good indicator was we lost our first game, I think, 32-4 or something like that. It was something ridiculous. And that same team we played in the last round, they beat us 16-15. That's such a huge improvement from these girls. And that's I just couldn't be prouder of them. But you're right, it's different. So, approaching the way we teach these girls is, it is the key, I feel, as well. Like you don't have to hide them. We spoke about that in another episode as well. Like, hiding kids just isn't the way we make the game better, and you don't make anyone better. You hide someone, you could hide someone in right field, they're always going to be the player you hit in right field. They're never going to have the opportunities to grow and whatnot. And once something you said earlier, towards the start of this podcast, was you felt like one of the things that really kept you playing and you enjoyed was that you felt like you contributed. Right? You were contributing to the team just like everybody else, and like that's going to be the same for all the girls. Like if we stick them in right field or stick them in places that they're not going to be able to compete and contribute, they're going to think, well, what's the point of me being here?
Yeah, exactly.
Why do I show up every week if I'm not even going to contribute to the team's success? So yeah, contributions to being able to. Everybody needs to be able to contribute. That's why they're there. They're there to play. They're there to have fun. And sorry, I know I'm doing a lot of talking,
no,
Steph. We came here to listen to you, but you're just giving me lots of fodder here. So the other thing you said, and again we come back to all these core things, was education. You were talking about education with the equipment. So it's not the same everywhere, obviously, but here in New South Wales, the girls who play in the mixed competitions, they or in certain associations, I can't speak for every association, but they have a leeway on bats where they can use the bat from the age group below, basically. And in the state league, they can use USSSA bats, whereas there is no other league in the country that boys play in where they can use USSSA bats. So those rules are in there to make the game more fair. right? Because like I said, biologically it's not fair sometimes when it comes to how hard you can throw and how hard you can hit the ball. But even doesn't mean fair, you know what I mean? So we give the girls these tools, we make these rules to be able to keep them competitive, keep them enjoying the game. So educating yourself as a coach, if you're coaching young girls, grab the rule book, ask questions, and educate yourself on the different rules that are there in place to make sure that these girls enjoy the game a bit better. Because if you're not using these things and you're not following the rules and helping the girls achieve these advantages that are put in place for them to level the playing field, they're not going to enjoy it as much.
Yeah.
You know, they could have had this opportunity to be, you know, like for example, when the boys have to move to BB Corps, the girls still able to use USA bats in our local league, you know, and some of these girls may not be developed enough to swing a drop 3 bat, you know, whereas if they were still allowed to use a drop 10 or a drop 8, you know, then they'd be able to catch up with these fastballs with these bigger, stronger boys are throwing at them. So education, again, we come back to education's key.
I think it's such a huge thing, and it's all well and good to say that I treat all my kids fairly. However, equality in a team doesn't always work out, but equity within a team is more important. There's things that are in the game to make it more equitable for girls to be playing with boys. And we can definitely keep up with boys. We absolutely can. However, to keep us to a complete standard isn't as fair when we are older. When we're young, we're basically the same. Little boys, little girls, they're basically the same thing. But as we're getting older, how we go through puberty, how we grow up is completely different. You're not going to pit a 6'1" filled out boy at 17 to a 5'3" little girl that's not very strong. And so there's things that are made sure that it's a more equitable game rather than an equal game.
Okay, so again, another great point. And this just what we talk about here on inside the game is basics and grassroots stuff. This is what we're focused on. We're focused on educating, growing the game, helping people to make the game a better place for everybody. But when we talk about these things that make it a more even playing field, it doesn't mean that is always the case. There is times where the best play the best. There is reps. You know, as the kids go on, they play at a representative level. The girls, they go and play against other girls in representatives, and the boys, they go and play against other boys in representative levels. There is a time and place to have best field on the team at all times, best team on the field at all times. There's a place that, you know, you may be riding the pine for a little bit. I've been in that position myself as a pitcher when I was younger. So there are those competitive things, and there's a place for those too, and we need those as well. But what we're talking about here is, you know, those grassroots club level games where we want people to be involved and we want everybody to have a go. So when we're young, there's no hiding, kids, and let's make sure we use every advantage we can to try and level out the playing field for these young girls who are trying to enjoy the game.
Yeah, and definitely even as young girls are heading into more elite baseball, I remember my first nationals when I was 13 or 14. I had this incredible coach from Newcastle, Pete Hewish. He was amazing in how I viewed the game. He truly put over determination, respect, teamwork, all these different values, and how much those values and those traits are more important than raw talent. And even though we were going to a nationals, and obviously you're thinking, oh, we have to win, he saw it as an opportunity for women's baseball to grow. He knew development starts from the bottom. He wanted us to be able to keep up and be as best as we could in a short period of time. Like, it's hard to create a great team overnight, but he always said that he would put a team on that was respectful, that was determined, that was consistent, that was respectful, over a team that never showed up to training or was disrespectful to their teammates, played as a selfish player, but could hit home runs. So able to put aside winning and truly putting development ahead of winning is one of the most important things in women's baseball, but also baseball in general, especially at a grassroots level. Because if you're going out there to win your local competition, it's not that important at the end of the day. But to keep these kids coming back year after year and developing them and creating a stronger environment and a stronger competition, that's way more important than winning your local district for the season.
Yeah. No one remembers the championship you won when you were 10.
Yeah.
So they say, when you go for your job interview when you're 25 years old, they say, so where did you finish in the under 12s? You know, no one says that. He sounds like a good bloke, Pete. We might have to get him on for a bit of a chat at some point. All right, Steph, last question. Okay, we've given you a pretty good grilling here so far, but I just wanted to get one more little bit of insight out of you before we wrap it up for the day. And I just thought, have you got any advice for the parents out there? Because that's a lot of what this show is geared towards, is trying to help new parents as well understand the game and understand it from the kid's perspective, from a perspective of a sideline parent, from a perspective of how they can help the coach. So what advice would you give to a parent of a young player or a young female player to help support them, to get them into it, to help support them, to help keep them involved in baseball as a young player?
I think joining as many things as you can and involving yourself in baseball as much as you can. If you love the sport, just continue your involvement. Join up to these. A lot of associations put on development days. Join them. A lot of them have girl specialized ones especially, but development days for boys and girls as well. Just join them. They're great to meet kids from other clubs and within your association. You can create new friendships, new connections. It's great to just grow the community and be able to see them on the weekend and go, oh, I know that person. That's great. It's my friends. And it makes it more enjoyable than pitting young children against each other each week and making sure we're the best of the best. But I think, just involvement. So join what you can, join tournaments. If there's a tournament and someone asks you to be part of it, say yes and have a whole weekend of baseball. It's fun. It's really, really fun. And winning, it really means nothing at the end of it. It's just a fun weekend for you to enjoy. And I think for parents or young kids watching more games, going to older kids' games or older adult games and just watching and asking questions, and people will answer them, because baseball is such a complex sport that even I will find adults that don't even know all the rules properly. And there's some rules that you don't see ever in your life ever happen in front of you, or once ever. So I think it's just ask more questions, ask why that happened. I've actually had at a tournament before, one parent, she would watch our games and write in her notes all the questions she had for the game, and then come at the end of the game and ask me for clarification. She was new to the sport and her son was new to the sport, but she wanted to make sure she was educating herself to be able to support his interest in the sport and be able to talk to him and be involved in what he's starting to love. And I think that's really good, because it creates like a nice bond between parents and kids, rather than forcing them to be the best of the best, but rather saying, oh, it's really fun and I'm glad I understand the sport you love. So I think it's really interesting, and people are, just ask questions. It's just so important, and everyone will explain it. No one is ever upset to talk baseball.
And if they are, find someone else. Exactly. They're probably not the kind of person you want to be talking to in general anyway. Oh, very good. Well, that's awesome, Steph. It's been an excellent conversation with you. Like, I knew exactly what we'd get before when we got on here. That's why I gave you the call. And thank you very much for being on Inside the Game today. If you guys have got any questions about women's baseball, coaching girls, any of that kind of stuff, let us know in the comments, and we'll have a chat to you down there. But thank you very much, Steph.
Thank you.
And we'll see everybody next time. Thank you. That's it for today's episode of RBI Australia Inside the Game. Thanks for tuning in. If you picked up something new, make sure to share it with your team or hit replay. We'll be back soon with more tips, drills and insights to help you level up. And hey, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell so you never miss an episode. Until next time, train smart, play hard and keep growing that game.